Part 27. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 261. Yushu scolded her while slapping her. I thought your folk music club had nothing to do, so I signed up for the folk music club. They use me as a tool day after day. Why do I have such a miserable life? Wen Qiao glanced at her and said with a smile, Sister, please stop saying a few words. Later, the work will be more difficult when the pronunciation is revised. Yushu cursed, for the sake of your beauty, forget it. The four of them shot a total of 5 videos, one solo video for each person, plus an ensemble video. The snow is falling, the scenery is beautiful and the people are beautiful. The video captured was so beautiful that Yushu could not help but be impressed by the charm of folk music. These girls really love folk music and perform the beauty of folk music with all their heart. Deep down, she actually admired these schoolgirls. After the filming, Yushu sat in the pavilion, crossed his legs and said, I quit the group. Lu Yuyu hugged her, don't even think about it. You are a member of the folk music club in life and the soul of the folk music club in death. Once you come in, don't even think about leaving. I bet you, this is still a black shop. Can I treat my sister to hot pot tonight? Yushu squinted at her, if you want to eat, eat the best. No problem, it's the best hot pot restaurant. I've already reserved a seat. Let's go. Lu Yuyu had planned to treat this meal. After all, she was also the president. This kind of group activity must have been invited by the president. When she finished eating and ran to the checkout counter, the counter told her that she had already paid for it, and it was a boy in a sweatshirt who came to pay for it. Lu Yuyu ran over and pointed at Dong Yao, did you pay for it? All the girls in the folk music club looked at Dong Yao and said, Yuyu said you would pay for it, why are you rushing to buy it? When asked, Dong Yao doubted his life, yes, why should I rush to buy it? Lu Yuyu stared at him, so why are you rushing to buy it? 5 pairs of big confused eyes stared at him. Dong Yao patted his chopsticks and said, I have money and am willing to buy it, can't I? The 4 of them had icy expressions on their faces. Lu Yuyu was quite unconvinced, I'm not short of money either, okay. Dong Yao was too lazy to talk to her, next time you invite me, I won't take it away. Lu Yuyu had a look on her face that said, that's not bad. Wen Qiao doesn't like posting his daily life and selfies on social media, but Lu Yuyu likes it. Lu Yuyu can refresh the screen more than a dozen times a day. So, Fu Nanli watched a live broadcast, where they went to play. Wen Qiao and the others stayed in Hangzhou for 2 days, taking the cable car, burning incense and admiring the lake. Arriving home at 6 p.m. the next day. The snow stopped, and there was thick snow piled in the corner of the door. The door to the yard was open, and the lights were on in the living room. She was wearing a red wire hat, carrying a suitcase, and the moment she opened the door, she thought she saw wrong. Choking on the cold wind, Wen Qiao couldn't help coughing. The man stood up and walked towards her. Wen Qiao looked at her mother nervously and apprehensively. Fu Nanli reached out and grabbed her wrist. Wen Qiao leaned back slightly and looked at Fu Nanli, not daring to move. He patted her back gently with his broad hand, I haven't recovered from the cold. I ran out to play on a snowy day. Are you freezing again? His posture and tone were extremely intimate. Wen Qiao whispered softly, why are you here? He glanced across her face and put a little pressure on his hands, can't I come? In a panic, Wen Qiao didn't notice the questioning tone in his tone, my mother doesn't know. He had already dragged the person into the living room. The door was closed and the air conditioner was turned on. It was quite warm. Wen Qiao untied the scarf around his neck while thinking about what to say. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 262. When Chi and Wen Mo sat on the sofa with expressions on their faces. Su-yoon didn't look very good, but since Fu Nanli was present, she was still polite. This gentleman is the gentleman who came to our rescue last time when Xiao Mo won the grand prize of the Olympiad mathematics competition. When Xiao took off her hat, and her hair stood up because of the static electricity. She looked like a hedgehog. Fu Nanli reached out to help her trim her hair. Wen Xiao grabbed Fu Nanli's wrist and asked, please stop showing off. Is it a show occasion? Yes, he is. The corners of Su-yun's mouth were twitching. She never expected that her little girl would start to cheat on her. You said he is Yu-yu's cousin. Wen Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Mom, you really don't know how to drink. So, the mother over there was not happy, and Fu Nanli was not happy either. He pinched her fingers and looked at her with slightly raised eyebrows. Am I cousin Lu Yu? Wen Xiao had never encountered such a complicated scene, and she didn't know which thing to clarify first. Su-yoon, he said his name is Fu Nanli and he is your boyfriend. Wen Xiao's smile froze on his face. How long had he been here? Have you said all that needs to be said? He said the most difficult things for her, so she felt a little more relaxed. Well, he's my boyfriend. She looked at her mother and didn't notice that Fu Nanli's tense expression had softened. Su-yoon held her breath in her chest, feeling a little emotional. Although I think you are still young and your mother does not object to your falling in love, you can't lie to your mother, and you can't. She couldn't get involved in the Fu family, which was in such deep water. She knew that the wealthy family was in deep water. The Fu family was not an ordinary wealthy family. The struggle for interests was complicated. Xiao was so straight-tempered. How could she handle it? Her eyes glanced at Fu Nanli. Although he was a junior, he had an aura of calmness and self-reliance. As an elder, she was a little wary of speaking. When Xiao said guiltily, Mom, I was just afraid that you would worry about me, so I never told you. I'm sorry. At first, she felt that she and Fu Nanli were not a couple at all. She was just attached to Fu Nanli just to survive. So I didn't tell my mother. Later, it seemed that there was no suitable opportunity to say it. Su-yoon looked complicated. It's getting late, Mr. Fu, please come back first. Fu Nanli is here, she has to hide everything she says, and she always feels uncomfortable. Fu Nanli still held Wen Xiao's hand, which meant very clearly. Wen Xiao said obediently, Mom, then, I'll send him out first. Without her mother's approval, Fu Nanli said, I'm leaving first. Wen Xiao was pulled out of the house by him. Su-yoon was worried and walked to the door, watching the tall man take her Xiao into his arms and lead him out of the yard. They really match each other in appearance. The young master of the Fu family is not only handsome, but also tall. Standing next to Xiao, it is completely pleasing to the eye. But she had also heard about the Fu family's affairs, and she was worried about letting Xiao go into such troubled waters. It was cold and windy outside, so Fu Nanli reached out to pull the hat on the back of her down jacket and held her hand tightly. The street lamp was broken, and the cold moonlight shone on the bluestone road, emitting a cold light. There was snow in the corners on both sides, and white mist came out when I breathed. The coldest time of the year has arrived. Fu Nanli dragged the person to the corner, Lu Yuyu's cousin. How many lies did the little liar tell? Wen Xiao felt guilty. I told you before that because I was still young, I didn't tell my mother about love, so when you helped us out last time, my mother asked, You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 263. You just said that I am Lu Yuyu's cousin. Wen Qiao nodded. Well, my mother knows that your car is very expensive. Except for Yuyu, I don't know such rich people. Fu Nanli narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at her. It's quite reasonable. Wen Qiao was innocent. At that moment, all I can say is, are you angry? Fu Nanli put his hands on the uneven wall and pressed him against the wall. What will you do if I say I'm angry? Wen Qiao's face was full of seriousness. Do you think it's okay to donate another Hope Primary School to you? There is still room for the money he gave, and Hope Primary School can afford it. Fu Nanli bowed his head and kissed her lips. Does he want Hope Primary School? Does she really not understand, or is she unwilling to be emotionally involved with him? The 2-minute kiss made Wen Qiao feel dizzy, and his mind was in a state of confusion, with the most important question flashing through his mind. He finally let go of her, and Wen Qiao gasped and asked him, why did you show up at my house? Fu Nanli's rough thumb gently wiped the corner of her mouth. I'm here to find you. Wen Qiao looked up at him. Don't you know I'm not at home? And why didn't you send me a message in advance when you came to my house? Why didn't you leave when you saw my mother was at home? His waist tightened, and Fu Nanli's eyes were a little cold under the moonlight. He didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, he asked with 2 points, you don't want your mother to see me so much? It seemed that he was holding back a little. Wen Qiao didn't know what he was holding back. Because I lied to my mother from the beginning. I didn't want her to think that I was in a relationship behind her back, and I was afraid that she would be worried. Fu Nanli stared at her intensely, making Wen Qiao feel guilty. He hugged her into his arms. Since your mother already knows my existence, you don't have to be secretive in the future, Wen Qiao. It seems to be correct, but something doesn't feel right. There's no need to see me off. It's cold outside. Go back. Fu Nanli stood in the alley, watching her leave. Wen Qiao turned back in 3 steps and looked at Fu Nanli standing there. When she got to the door of the house, she remembered that he seemed to have changed the subject, and did not say why he came to his house, and insisted on entering her house even when her mother was at home. Don't they agree on not telling her mother about this? Why is he suddenly unwilling to get along like this? She didn't ask him to hide. As long as he didn't come to their house, her mother wouldn't know, so he didn't need to hide. After entering the house, there are still things to explain. Wen Qiao felt a little tired. Su Yun said calmly, you two, go back to your room. Wen Qi had a look on his face that said, I want to hear about 5 more yuan. Su Yun clicked her tongue, and the 2 brothers rushed into the room. Wen Qi put his ear against the door and listened. Wen Mo followed Wen Kai's example and also posted on the door to eavesdrop. Su Yun's eyes were full of worry. How come you have a chance to come into contact with the young master of the Fu family? Wen Qiao told her mother the clumsy story about the small puddle on the roadside while driving. Su Yun believed it. Because Qiao has a face that makes this story very convincing, the young master from a wealthy family is sitting in a luxury car and sees the delicate and beautiful little girl on the roadside. He can't take his eyes away. It's ridiculous to think of others. Qiao for Qiao, it's very reasonable. Do you know the Fu family? When Qiao lowered his eyes, his family members seemed to be quite easy to get along with. Su Yun gasped, have you met your family yet? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 264. When Qiao confessed honestly, I met his mother, who is very nice, and I also met his grandmother, a very friendly old lady, and she even gave her a red envelope. Su Yun was so angry that she covered her heart. You girl, you have met my mother and grandmother, but as your mother, I don't even know that you are in love, you. Wen Qiao said quickly, Mom, the situation is a bit complicated. I didn't mean to hide it from you, and I didn't meet his family voluntarily. It was all coincidence. Soo-yoon took her hand and said sincerely, the Fu family has a great business. When I was still in the Wen family, I heard some rumors about the Fu family. Although Fu Nanli was the only son, some of the uncles and brothers in the side family coveted their middle-aged children. Industry, such a wealthy family, the water is too deep, mother is afraid that you can't handle it. Wen Qiao's eyes were determined, Mom, I have grown up. Do you think there is anything I can't handle? Soo-yoon was stunned for a moment when she said this. Her Qiao suddenly grew up and seemed to be omnipotent at some point. On the contrary, her mother could only be protected by her sometimes. Her eyes couldn't help but turn red, and her voice choked up, Mom often feels that you are useless and your temper is too soft, which makes you feel wronged and makes you have to grow many thorns to protect yourself. Wen Qiao shook his head, No, I'm not wronged. With tears in her eyes, Soo-yoon touched her head, I just hope that Mr. Fu can be relied on and that he can protect you well. Wen Qiao nodded, he's pretty good. So good that she already had some unfounded delusions. Soo-yoon seemed to be convincing herself and made up her mind, he'd better treat you well. If one day, that day will never come. He will only find out that she cheated on him and leave her in anger. The fault will only be hers, not Fu Nanli's. Fu Nanli is very good. Soo-yoon finally regained her composure and touched her face, you like him very much. Do you speak for him like this? Wen Qiao actually felt a little hot on his face. He felt uncomfortable talking to his mother about this kind of thing. When Soo-yoon saw her blushing, she knew it. The little cotton-padded jacket she had raised as her treasure for 19 years now had someone in her heart. At present, it seems that the young master of the Fu family is quite sincere. As long as Qiao is not hurt, she is an adult and she has no objection to falling in love. Let her go. The bedroom door suddenly opened, and Wen Qi and Wen Mo stumbled to the ground together. The door was not closed properly, and the two of them showed their true feelings. Soo-yoon glared at them, Xiao Mo, you are also following Xiao Kai's example. What do you want to eavesdrop on? Wen Mo scratched the back of his head and smiled guiltily. Wen Qi came over and said, there's no fight. Wen Qiao squinted at him, hearing what you said, I hope we will fight. For such a small love affair, our mother must give you a few words of education. Wen Qiao kicked him over and said, you have learned how to sow discord. Wen Qi jumped to the side, can't kick, can't kick. After a while of noise, Wen Qiao pulled her mother and said, I'll sleep with you tonight. Soo-yoon nodded. When the little girl grows up, she may get married and become a woman at any time, and the opportunities to hold her in her arms and treat her as a child will become less and less. After taking a shower, Wen Qiao rushed back to the bedroom wearing thick pajamas, it seems to be snowing again outside. Soo-yoon got a hot water bottle and gave it to Wen Qiao, hold it. The goose down quilt is light and warm. Wen Qiao feels that her mother will always have a special smell, a smell that makes people cling to her. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 265. The snow outside the window fell silently. Wen Qiao asked carefully, Mom, I want to know why Wen Jianmin is so firm that there is something wrong with the Su family's genes. Soo-yoon lowered her eyes, the lights in the room were turned off, and only the dim street lights outside the courtyard wall cast some light on the window edges. Wen Qiao clearly felt that her mother seemed to be in a sad mood. Shouldn't I ask? Soo-yoon patted her back gently with her hand and sighed, do you still remember your uncle? Uncle? Soo-ying's father. No, you also have a younger uncle, do you have any impression? Wen Qiao was surprised, do I have a younger uncle? You didn't tell me, How could I have an impression? Your uncle is only 9 years older than you. Wen Xiao. Then, isn't that about the same age as Fu Nanli? Then what? Where is he now? Su Yun grabbed her hand. Listen to me and tell you slowly, your uncle is 9 years older than you. Like Xiao Mo, he is very smart, extremely smart, but he is not very talkative, but he is better than Xiao Mo a lot. Xiao Mo didn't say a word. He basically only talked to me. After you were born, he liked you very much. He was 9 years old. He was still a child himself. As soon as he arrived at Wen's house, he hugged you and never let go. He took care of the child. She is well dressed, and they all say that my niece looks like my uncle. Your eyebrows do look a bit like your uncle's, especially your eyes. He is also very handsome. Then what? Su Yun was immersed in memories. Her voice was a little sad. You were 3 years old and your uncle was 12 years old. He was already in high school when he was 12 years old. He was several years younger than other children of the same age, but he was still in the same grade every year. No one. Wen Xiao thought thoughtfully. Nowadays, schools do not encourage students to skip a grade, otherwise Xiao Mo might have been able to go to college. It was also winter. The night before, he spent the night at Wen's house. I asked the driver to take him to school. That night, the driver went to school to pick him up, but he couldn't. Wen Xiao frowned, his heart skipping a beat. The driver called me, and I rushed to the school. It was almost the same as today. It was snowing outside. His class teacher and I searched every corner of the school, but we couldn't find your uncle. The surveillance camera at the school gate happened to be broken that day. I called his cell phone and turned it off. I was really anxious that day. I called the police and searched everywhere, but he just disappeared out of thin air. Wen Xiao's heart twitched. What did his teachers and classmates say? I asked his class teacher and his classmates if there was anything unusual about him that day. They all said nothing. He didn't speak at all. That day was no different from usual. He listened to the lectures in class and sat in his seat to play with the Rubik's Cube after class. I went to the bathroom during the penultimate class and never returned to the classroom. Speaking of the latter part, Su Yun's voice was a little choked. Although Wen Xiao has no impression of his uncle who is only 9 years older than him, the bond of flesh and blood is engraved in his bones, and his heartache is instinctive. I have been searching for a long time, but there is no news at all. I spend every day worrying. Although he is smart, he doesn't like to talk and has no social skills. If he is kidnapped by some bad guy, what kind of punishment will he suffer? For several years, I had nightmares every night, dreaming that your uncle was suffering outside. Your father, that is, Wen Jianmin, helped me look for him at first. Later, he seemed a little annoyed and stopped asking about it. Wen Xiao shook his fist. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 266. I have never given up. If he was kidnapped, someone should come to us to negotiate terms. Your uncle was 12 years old at the time. He was not a child who could be easily abducted by human traffickers. He was very wary of strangers. Time is so long. Going forward, Xiao Mo and Xiao Qi were born. Later, Xiao Mo kept silent, and Wen Jianmin kept saying, how can you be like your uncle? By the age of 4, Xiao Qi was already eloquent, but Xiao Mo couldn't even talk to his parents. My sister didn't even yell, so Wen Jianmin took him to the hospital for a checkup. Wen Xiao basically knew everything that happened next. Wen Jianmin found out that Xiao Mo had autism, and since her uncle also had almost the same symptoms, he naturally believed that Xiao Mo's disease was inherited from the Su family. When he learns that his child is sick, his first reaction is not to seek treatment, but to divorce. Instead, he drives the sick child away from him. Wen Jianmin is really a very cruel person. Her Xiao Mo and Xiao Qi are both very good children and will definitely achieve great things in the future. It's just uncle, what happened to him? Did you look for him again later? Su Yun secretly wiped the corners of her eyes. After that, I divorced Wen Jianmin, and I have to raise your 3 children. My life is very tight. I really don't have the energy or the financial resources to look for that child again. I am in a state of self-consciousness every day. Amidst the responsibility, I don't know where the child is living a tormented life. Wen Qiao felt very distressed and patted her shoulder gently. Uncle is so smart. As long as he lives, I think he will not suffer. Su Yun sighed. More than 10 years had passed, and she didn't dare to think about it anymore. I didn't want to tell you this at first. Telling you will only increase your mental burden and won't solve anything. No, it will make you feel more relaxed if you tell mom what's on your mind. I'm an adult and can help you with a lot of things. Do you have a picture of your uncle? Su Yun sat up, turned on the light, and opened the bedside table. There was a small wooden box inside. She took out 2 photos from it. It was something Wen Qiao had never seen before. The photo he took a few days before he disappeared was taken at school, where he won an award, and was taken in front of the school, wearing school uniform. The boy in the photo is only 12 years old, with a tall and straight figure, a delicate face, his hands in his pockets, and no expression on his face. Because of the age, the photo is a little yellowed, but it is still vaguely distinguishable. Her uncle's eyebrows and eyes are indeed somewhat similar to hers, even more similar than hers and her mother. Wen Qiao picked up his phone and took this photo. What you do? Now that the internet is developed, I will find a software to generate a rough look of my uncle when he grows up, and then post it on the internet to use the power of the internet to see if I can find him. Su Yun placed the photo properly. Is it really okay? Wen Qiao looked at the photos on his phone. Let's try it. There is no news about a man who has been missing for more than 10 years. Can he really be found? Wen Qiao is not sure either. But there is always a chance to give it a try. Early the next morning, Uncle Ji came to the door with breakfast bought outside. They had a lively breakfast together, and then Uncle Ji and his mother went to work in a convenience store. The 3 siblings cleared the dishes together, and Wen Qi took over diligently. The water is cold, I'll wash the dishes. While Wen Qiao was wiping the table, Lu Yuyu came to her house in a hurry. Are you online? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 267. What's wrong? Sulu composed a song, which will premiere today. It will be sung by Shang Fan's competitor, Chen Malay from Huachang Entertainment. Wen Qiao was a little surprised. Huh? Sulu composed the music. Yes, look, today Cloud Music is debuting. The composer is Sulu. Is this the Sulu we know? She has posted it all over her Weibo, WeChat, and Ins. It's that Sulu. Wen Qiao took her phone and clicked on the song Hibernation. The genre was very new and trendy, and the arrangement was very advanced. It was a pop song that mixed some traditional classical music elements. It was catchy and an excellent song. But she could conclude, Sulu couldn't do it? She had never heard of the music composed by Sulu a few months ago. In just 2 months, her composition skills were as if she were on a rocket launcher, rocketing from the ground to the sky. Mortals don't have this ability. Wen Qiao listened to it several times and concluded that this piece of music was a great test of the composer's composition and arrangement abilities. It should be a piece composed by a very experienced and sophisticated person in the music industry. Lu Yuyu slapped the table. Did she find someone to write for her? I don't think she can compose this kind of music. Wen Qiao frowned. Su Lu's situation in the Wen family was not good. Wen Jianmin was embarrassed by her because he was disgusted with her. I heard that her credit card was stopped. How can she have the money to hire a powerful and high-level composer to help her compose music, and who is willing to put her name on it? Is someone helping her behind her back? So who is that person? Wen Qiao nodded. Let's wait and see. If she really has this talent, then she is great. If she fakes it, then one day her disguise will be exposed by others. Lu Yuyu chuckled softly. I want to see her rise and fall. This person is too utilitarian. In the domestic entertainment industry, Shang Fan is considered a big brother. When his Jingj was released, the unit price was 3 yuan, and 10 million copies were sold that day, which means a direct income of 30 million yuan. Chen Mu came from a talent show and is extremely popular. He has no talent for composing lyrics or music, but his fans' ability to generate chart sales is by no means inferior to anyone else's. Their family secretly wanted to compete with Shang Fan. Who doesn't want to be a big brother? As soon as the song Hibernation was released today, his fans were as excited as ever, and all the major guilds were stimulating fan spending. Su Lu was the most nervous. She hoped that the sales volume of Hibernation could exceed that of Jingj, which would mean that she was better than Wen Qiao. Even if this piece of music was composed by someone else, even if she knew that it was all just a lie, when she told the lie 1,000 times, she began to take it seriously. She composed the piece Hibernation first, and then published it. She gave it to the mysterious person, who asked someone to help her revise the entire manuscript. In fact, compared to her original song, it has changed beyond recognition. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a new song. But she deceived herself and told herself that she had originally composed the piece, and that others had at most added icing on the cake and modified it, so there was no need for her to feel guilty. No matter how hard Chen Mu's fans worked, Chen Mu's single sales that day only stopped at 6 million. Compared with Shang Fan, who easily exceeded 10 million, it was still a long way off. However, Su Lu still stole the show. Compared with Wen Qiao's low-key, she has come to be high-profile, and the title of the female college student genius composer of Yanjian has been on the hot search. Su Lu actually wanted to know who was the person who packaged her behind the scenes, who spent so much money to help her change the song, and also spent money on marketing to help her become a hot search. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 268. But the other party obviously hid it deeply, and there were no clues for her to investigate. But now, no matter who the other party is or what the purpose is, she is famous. This is real. The other party also said that Chen Mu will release a regular album early next year, and 4 of the songs will be signed by her name. She also signed a contract with an economic company. The income of the economic company were divided 30-70, and she received 70%. It seems that the other party just wants to package a young and beautiful female student. After all, this kind of gimmick is more popular. The only regret is that Chen Mu's songs still couldn't beat Shang Fan. The holder of various broken records is still Shang Fan. Su Lu has developed endless ambitions. She hopes that next year Chen Mu will crush Shang Fan in all aspects, which means that she will crush Wen Qiao. All kinds of complimentary words on the internet have already made her feel a little overwhelmed. Back at Wen's house, Uncle Wen's attitude towards her changed again. She already knew Uncle Wen very well, and he would be kind to anyone who could give him face. After hearing that the song she composed became popular, Wen Jianmin decided to hold a celebration party for her at home. The grievances she had felt for half a year were finally released, and Su Lu felt proud. She said considerately, "Uncle Wen, please invite Wen Xiao and the others to come with us. I hope you can live in harmony with the other side." Since Uncle Wen is already interested in maintaining the image of a loving father, why not give her a favor? Sure enough, Wen Jianmin immediately praised, "Lulu is still so reasonable. Sulu just wanted to show off in front of Wen Xiao. It's just composing. If you can do it, so can I. If you become popular, so will I from now on. Don't expect to feel any superiority in front of me." Wen Xiao was at Fu Nanli's place when he received the invitation text message from Zha's father. She was sitting on the sofa and watching TV. Fu Nanli's hand was around her waist. She was watching the Discovery Channel with him. Fu Nanli suddenly said, "I heard that there is a station that is auditioning. Let's switch to that station." Wen Xiao was surprised. "You don't like watching that kind of program, right?" In fact, she doesn't like watching it herself, but Lu Yuyu and Chun Xiao are crazy star-chasing girls, so she can name a few talent show stars. Fu Nanli said, "You can take a look." He wanted to develop interests and hobbies similar to hers. He wanted to try to overcome the age difference between him and her. When he was transferred, the mentor of the talent show was Shang Fan, and Fu Nanli's eyes dimmed slightly. Wen Xiao was on pins and needles, but he said he could take a look, so let's take a look together. Shang Fan dyed his hair gray blue, wore sexy eyeliner, earrings, and a bling-bling leather jacket. His star-like style made everyone in the audience unable to take their eyes away. Just when Wen Xiao felt that the atmosphere in the living room was gradually condensing, his phone vibrated, and it turned out to be a message from Wen Jianmin. Fu Nanli saw the invitation text message as far as he could see. Wen Xiao didn't intend to pay attention at all, but Fu Nanli said, "Are you going?" Wen Xiao shook his head, "I won't go." "Why?" Wen Xiao said nonchalantly, "Sulu is famous, and Wen Jianmin is throwing a party for her. Why should I go there? To see her show off in the home that originally belonged to me." "She won't go." "I'll go with you." Wen Xiao, huh? Fu Nanli pinched her chin with his fingers, and his expression darkened so quickly, "Don't want to." Wen Xiao shook his head, "No. No. Your mother already knows that we are together. You don't need to hide it. This matter is settled." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 269. Wen Xiao vaguely felt that Fu Nanli seemed to have become more powerful, and Xiu's desire was too strong, as if she wanted to let everyone know that she had a boyfriend. The weather was severely cold, and the Wen family's villa was brightly lit. Colored lanterns were hung on the short trees in the yard. Against the winter night sky, there was a blaze of lights. A Rolls-Royce was parked at the door, along with a Porsche. How could Lu Yuyu not come to join in the fun on this occasion? Lu Yuyu got out of the car first. In the Rolls-Royce behind, Fu Nanli was talking on the phone. Wen Xiao had already seen Sulu standing at the gate of the villa, looking forward to it, and pressed Fu Nanli's hand. "I'll go first, get off." Fu Nan bowed his head. Wen Xiao wrapped her coat tightly and got out of the car, and walked to the door of the villa with Lu Yuyu. Sulu smiled on the surface, "I thought you didn't want to come. I'm very happy to see you coming." Lu Yuyu smiled, "Are you happy? You won't be happy anymore after a while." Wen Xiao raised an eyebrow. Sulu's expression was a little stiff. "Lu Yuyu, what do you mean?" Lu Yuyu sneered, "We'll see." Wen Jianmin and Zhong Hui have already reached the door. Zhong Hui had a Philistine mentality, and her pride was clearly written on her face. She came over and said in a strange tone, "Hey, Wen Xiao is here. I thought our Lulu had achieved good results, but you didn't want to come. Wen Qiao looked at Sulu. Sulu was arrogant and showed no signs of guilt, as if hibernation was really composed by her. There was a sound of the car door closing behind him. Wen Qiao saw Sulu's expression suddenly changed, and heard the footsteps approaching behind her, so she knew that it was Fu Nanli who got out of the car and came over. "It's cold outside, why don't you go in and talk?" The man held her waist and a low voice rang in her ears. Fu Nanli has always kept a low profile, and at Wen Jianmin's level, there is no chance to meet him, but he can feel that the man's nobility must be the calm demeanor he has developed after being in a high position for a long time. This is. Wen Jianmin's attitude became respectful unconsciously. Sulu was so nervous that her heart jumped into her throat, and she understood what Lu Yuyu said just now, "You won't be happy in a while." Wen Qiao really never missed an opportunity to suppress her. It was obviously her celebration banquet, but she brought Fu Nanli over. "Fu Nanli is here, will Uncle Wen and all the guests attending the celebration banquet still pay attention to her?" She was immediately heartbroken, looking at Wen Qiao as if with a knife, gouging out Wen Qiao's face one by one. Fu Nanli's expression was constricted, with a strong sense of oppression, and he said indifferently, "I am Fu Nanli." Wen Jianmin and Zhong Hui were both stunned. Zhong Hui laughed instinctively, "Fu Nanli? Fu Nanli, the young master of Zhong Huan Group? Sir, you are really good at speaking out." Sulu naturally never told her family that Wen Qiao had an affair with Fu Nanli. She always felt that even if Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao were together, they were just playing with her and there was nothing worth saying. How could Zhong Hui believe that Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao were together? Fu Nanli, the eldest young master of the Fu family, was a good person among men, a man of high status and low status. There was no way he could have anything to do with someone like Wen Qiao. As soon as she spoke, Sulu's face turned even paler. She quickly grabbed her mother and said cautiously, He is really Fu Nanli." Zhong Hui took a deep breath and couldn't recover for a while. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 270. Looking at the way Mr. Fu hugs Wen Qiao affectionately, no matter how you look at it, they are a couple. How can this be? Wen Jianmin's eyes suddenly flashed with joy, and he stretched out his hand, "It's Master Fu. It's so glorious to have you here." Fu Nanli held Wen Qiao in one hand and put his other hand in his pocket. He did not reach out to shake Wen Jianmin's hand. "Can we go in? Qiao is afraid of the cold." Lu Yuyu's eyes were shining. "Qiao, what a doting call, Mr. Fu really knows how to pamper his girlfriend." Wen Jianmin quickly half-bowed and made a gesture of invitation, "Please come in quickly. We didn't greet you well. We let you stand in the cold wind at the door for so long. Please forgive me." Wen Qiao lowered his eyes, and the smile on his lips was a bit sarcastic. He never knew that Wen Jianmin was such a gentle and polite person. Zhong Hui followed behind, her legs were so frightened that her legs were weak. Sulu helped her go in, her voice was trembling. How could it be Mr. Fu? Could what I just said have offended him?" Sulu clenched her fists, looked at the back in front of her, gritted her teeth and said, "I'll apologize to Mr. Fu later." Zhong Hui nodded like a fool, okay, I apologize." Passing through the aisle and entering the main hall, there were people crowding around. The guests were all dressed in gorgeous formal clothes, decorated in European style, and colored lights were hung on the window sills. Everyone was laughing and chatting with each other in low voices. There is a small stage in the side hall with a piano on it and a violin on it. Apparently there will be a performance by the two siblings. The Wen family probably holds such parties quite often. They lived in a small house on Shuiying Road and worried about their livelihood. When they could not sleep at night worrying about their brother's condition, Wen Jianmin led his new wife and children and often sang and danced here. What an irony. Wen Jianmin said respectfully, Master Fu and our Chiao Chiao are. Wen Chiao lowered his head and smiled, we Chiao Chiao, ha. Lu Yu rolled her eyes bluntly. Fu Nanli said indifferently, Chiao is my girlfriend. Although he could tell from his body movements, Wen Jianmin was still deeply shocked by Fu Nanli's personal admission. This girl Wen Chiao actually climbed to such a high branch. Thinking about it, she can't help but feel scared. He is not very kind to this girl, and this girl is also a vengeful person. Then I thought about the fact that the previous business with the Fu family was cut off, probably because this girl went to see Mr. Fu and cried. He was scared, surprised, and happy that this girl had gotten into the Fu family. As long as he and the girl had a good relationship, would he still worry about not being able to get into the Fu family? This girl is his daughter. Between father and daughter, even if the bones are broken but the tendons are still connected, there is no obstacle that cannot be overcome. You are so busy with your work, how come you still have time to attend such a gathering? Wen Jianmin asked politely. Fu Nanli said in a deep voice, I heard that Mr. Wen's stepdaughter composed a song that became popular, so we held this celebration banquet. My Chiao also composed a song before, which was also widely circulated, but it seems that you have never done it for you. My own daughter has celebrated, let me see how your stepdaughter is better than our Chiao, so you should treat her differently. Lu Yu almost shouted bravo, Mr. Fu is awesome. A layer of cold sweat broke out on Wen Jianmin's forehead. Master Fu didn't give him any face. Mr. Fu, are you joking? Chiao Chiao is my daughter. I will never treat her badly. Chiao Chiao, don't you think so? Wen Chiao looked at him with a smile, I said no, you did treat me badly. Damn it.